Welcome to the cold, clinical part of the narcissist's hidden world. You are here because you felt deep down that something music was seriously wrong during the most intimate moments of your relationship. You remember how intense it felt at the beginning, how they seemed to adore music your body. But once the mask settled in place, that adoration turned into a strange, you stopped feeling like a cherished partner and started feeling like a prop in a movie you never agreed to be in. There was distance in their eyes even when they were inches from your face, a detached, almost predatory focus. This is where the illusion starts to crack. This is where we pull back the curtain on the hidden compulsions that run their inner machinery. Have you ever wondered why the intimacy felt so hollow? You were there, open, offering real vulnerability, yet it felt like shouting into a void. The question that keeps many survivors awake at night is, was I ever truly real to them? The answer lands hard. To the narcissist's, physical closeness is not an expression of love. It is a testing ground for power. It is a ritual of control. They were scanning music for weaknesses, mapping your emotional triggers, using the experience to bind your nervous system to their chaos. We are going to look closely at the unusual demands that surface once the love bombing fades. It often starts subtly. A request, music that sits just outside your comfort zone. Pressure to, pense, cross a boundary you are not ready to cross, or shocking. You may have brushed it off as spontaneity, but your instincts felt something else. Your intuition knew it was not about shared pleasure. It was music about compliance. The narcissist does not want to engage with you. They want to act upon you. They want to measure how much self-respect you will trade for their brief rush of validation. They look for the moment your no turns into music yes, through guilt or coercion. The narcissist depends on your silence. They know you feel too embarrassed to tell friends about the plans, about the strange requests whispered in private. That shame becomes a tool for isolation. But today, perpetuous silence. But today we break that silence. We look straight at the psychological. It is about erasing identity. They test whether they can push you into actions that make you lose respect for yourself. Once your self-respect weakens, control becomes easier. You become an emptied container for their expanding. Picture a predator that does not only want to consume, but to music toy with its prey. The narcissist's desire is predatory. Healthy intimacy bores them because they cannot feel the quiet depth of genuine affection. They are emotionally tone deaf to the music of connection. So they amplify the noise. They chase extremes, taboos, and humiliation because those are the only stimulated that activate their overstimulated reward systems. Shock is their currency. Seeing you flinch, freeze, or cry confirms their fantasy of omnipotence over your physical reality. This is an autopsy of that disconnection you felt. You were not unstable. You were not dull. You were human, and you were entangled with someone who chose a mismask over humanity. We will uncover why they often crave an audience, whether literal through recording or symbolic through music. Inserting third parties into private moments, they transform the bedroom into a stage. They are the performer, the director, and the critic. You are reduced to the technician. If you stop providing that spotlight, they retaliate with an emotional coldness that music feels lethal. You may have been told it was merely preference, but in narcissistic hands, preference becomes a weapon. We will examine the triangulation that occurs in intimacy, invoking ex-partners or imaginary rivals in your most vulnerable space. They want you to feel as if you are constantly competing for your place. They cultivate a sense of being easily replaced to prevent true security. Safety threatens them because a person who feels safe can think music clearly, and clarity eventually leads to escape. This is psychological warfare. It is not only about their desires, but about the impact on you, the somatic imprint that lingers long after the relationship ends. Every unsettling demand was another brick in the barrier built around your heart. They aimed to convince you that you were damaged beyond love, so you would believe they were the last person who would ever want you. That is the deepest hunger of the narcissist, to brand you as permanently altered. Do not turn away now. This is where reclamation begins. Their behavior was never proof of your inadequacy. It was evidence of their emptiness. They moved through life like hollow figures, and so ruthless, searching for minds to dominate and spirits to drain. Your body was merely the doorway. Once inside, they attempted to reshape your perception. But today, we expose the crude truth beneath the polished, but music seduction. Prepare for a direct and revealing examination. We are moving past surface labels into the core dysfunction of narcissistic intimacy. And by the end, you will understand that your discomfort was not deviance. It was sanity. The narcissist is captive to their own compulsions, and you were the one they tried to corrupt. Now we begin dissecting their hidden rituals and the steep cost of their incapacity to love. To understand narcissistic deviance, you must see the empathy void. In a healthy brain, intimacy releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that reinforces care and connection. The narcissistic mind resists that loop. They do not seek reciprocity. They seek extraction. Because they cannot access the reward of emotional closeness, they pursue the rush of degradation. Pushing you into something you find deeply uncomfortable delivers a surge of dominance. It feeds the thought, I can make this person comply. That is the secret drive beneath their actions. They often operate from music, a pathological Madonna horse split. They cannot merge respect with desire. When they respect someone, attraction fades. When they desire someone, they feel they must degrade them. This is why their requests, music, frequently involve devaluation. They reduce you to an object. They may, music, pressure you into scenarios where you are subordinate or diminished. In doing so, they project their internal shame outward. They compel you to enact the decay they carry within themselves. Music, we need to talk about voyeurism and the so-called third eye. The narcissist is fixated on being observed. This is why they often want to record the encounter, take photos, or surround the room. They are not truly focused on you. They step outside the moment and view it from a third-person angle, analyzing the performance, making sure they appear as powerful as the image they sell. If you decline the camera, you are rejecting their monument to themselves. You are denying them the souvenir of domination. That refusal can trigger a rage wildly out of proportion to the request. Their deviance also functions as boredom management. Many have high sensation-seeking traits. Ordinary intimacy feels intolerable to them. Years of chasing novelty have scorched their reward pathways. They resemble someone who can only taste food if it burns. Extremes are required for them to register predicality. Says, this is why unusual elements often appear abruptly, either without consent or after a stretch of apparent stability. The shock itself is the goal. Your startled reaction reassures them that they still possess the power to disrupt your equilibrium. Now, consider objectification and the erosion of agency. The narcissist aims to fracture your will. Their strange requests are frequently music boundary tests. They begin with something small and defensible, then they shift the line like a sculptor working in reverse. They are not crafting beauty, but carving away at your identity. They want to see if they can transform a high-value partner into a diminished object. If they succeed, admiration does not increase. Contempt does. They resent the compliance they demanded. This is the trap. Refuse, and they vilify you. Agree, and they devalue you. Their desire is often theatrical and cinematic. They are less interested in authentic connection, A, and more in staging a scene. They may insist on precise lighting, poses, or dialogue. If you few BT from the script, irritation surfaces. In their mind, you have ruined the production. This happens because they dissociate. They are not present with you. They are immersed in a fantasy, and you become a stand-in for the idealized version of themselves they are obsessed with. It becomes a solitary performance enacted by two bodies. We must also address triangulation in intimacy. They frequently reference what others' music supposedly enjoy or what a former partner preferred. This introduces competition into your most private space. By implying that everyone else embraces certain behaviors, they position you as the rigid one. Your instincts are reframed as prudishness. The message behind "why can't you be more open-minded" is "why be you still protecting your boundaries?" They seek to erode your sense of self until only their preferences remain. Sometimes the escalating demands are a prelude to discard. If they are restless and music scouting new supply, they may push for things they know you will decline. Your refusal becomes their justification to petting, exit. We were incompatible, they claim, projecting their own restlessness onto your standards. They cast themselves as the misunderstood adventurer and you as the limiting force. It is a preemptive narrative designed to rationalize betrayal. They torch the structure so they can blame the smoke. There is also a sensory numbing at play. Many prefer darkness, so a detachment, or even substances, not to enhance connection, but to dull it. The goal is to mute the vulnerability inherent in intimacy. Their focus often becomes mechanical and fragmented. They fixate pressures on parts rather than the whole person. By narrowing attention to a specific fixation, they avoid meeting your E. Yes, a screen feels safer than a human gaze. The glow of technology replaces the warmth of presence. They attempt to stack sensation upon sensation, hoping to bridge a void that has no floor. No matter how extreme or taboo the act, satisfaction never lasts. Morning arrives with deeper hollowness and music sharper resentment. And instead of confronting that void, they externalize it. They fault you for the fact that their strange experiments did not repair their fractured core. They chase a high, but the void remains. They live in chronic dissatisfaction, unable to access joy, unable to rest. The turning point comes when you deliver a firm, immovable no. Not hesitation, not negotiation, but a grounded refusal. This is where the balance shifts. Until then, they assumed your boundaries were flexible. When you stand in clarity and withdraw from their rituals, you challenge their grandiosity. You assert, "I am a person, not an object." Music for the narcissist, this is destabilizing. The seductive mask cracks, revealing hostility beneath. The charm drains from their expression, replaced by cold fury. This is narcissistic injury in real time. By refusing objectification, you remove them from the throne they imagined. They recognize they do not control you. That realization feels like exposure. Instead of accountability, they often respond with in-music punishment. Warmth turns into strategic withdrawal. Affection becomes scarce. Dignity is mocked. What you thought would preserve the relationship, saying yes, being accommodating music, actually reduced your value in their eyes. Your refusal is not rejection of intimacy. It purges the toxin of coercion. Once you establish walls, the game collapses. They can no longer use you to buffer their emptiness. In response, they may escalate triangulation, openly praising someone else as the aim is to shame you back into submission, to make you compete for the chance to be diminished again. This is psychological warfare. They attempt to redefine your boundaries as flaws and your self-respect as rigidity. They want you to apologize for possessing a soul. Do not accept that distortion. Their appetite is theirs to manage. When they weaponize withdrawal, turning the bedroom into silence, it is a final attempt to fracture your confidence. They want you to believe you are inadequate because you refuse their demands. But the truth remains. The absence of their approval is not evidence of your deficiency. It is evidence that music, chose integrity over submission. They often try to place their own emotional emptiness onto you. They are the ones who struggle to feel fulfilled while you are capable of experiencing genuine love and tenuous connection. The difficulty lies within them, not you. When music, they withdraw or create silence, it is not a punishment you deserve. It can become a quiet space where you regain clarity and distance from the confusion they create. Sometimes they attempt to return with renewed affection mixed with subtle pressure. They may appear vulnerable, apologize, or say they simply miss the closeness. However, this is often less about reconciliation and more about regaining influence. They may test whether your boundaries are still firm. If you abandon those boundaries, they may not value you more for it. Instead, they may unconsciously lose respect, seeing your flexibility as something they can exploit. Music, the true shift happens when you stop placing them on a pedestal. No longer idealize their charm or intensity. The illusion fades. You begin to see insecurity where you once saw confidence. What once seemed exciting may now appear restless or immature. Rather than feeling intimidated, you might start to feel music detached compassion. You recognize patterns that reflect unresolved issues within them, while you continue to grow beyond the dynamic. Healing can begin even before the relationship ends. You start paying attention to your body and emotions. If you felt numb, tense, or disconnected at times, you understand that these were protective responses. Your nervous system was signaling that something was not right. Instead of criticizing yourself, you begin to trust those signals. You remind yourself, I am safe. I am whole. I belong to myself. This inner stability often unsettles someone who relies on control. Music may sense that their influence is weakening. As the dynamic changes, you may realize that much of their perceived power came from your belief in it. When you withdraw that belief, the intensity diminishes. What once felt overwhelming may begin to feel ordinary. Indifference, rather than anger, often becomes the final turning point. While they may react strongly to criticism or conflict, calm detachment can be far more destabilizing to someone who thrives on emotional reactions. Ultimately, you are the one who gains by maintaining your boundaries and protecting your self-respect. You preserve your sense of identity. They may continue seeking validation elsewhere, but you move forward with clarity, autonomy, and renewed strength. Use exact, so ruthless. What once felt like being trapped becomes an opportunity to step into a healthier and brighter chapter of your life. Without your validation reinforcing their fantasy of music superiority, they confront decline. Aging becomes terrifying. They fixate on mirrors, scanning for evidence of fading desirability. Their behavior grows more frantic, more undiscerning. The former king is reduced to begging for scraps of attention. Nothing satisfies them for long. The very extremes they once pursued no longer stimulate. Their reward system is exhausted. They live in chronic dissatisfaction, unable to access joy, unable to rest. They are starved in the midst of abundance. Even new partners are met with quiet contempt. They are condemned to music, endless seeking without fulfillment. This is the cost of dehumanizing others. In stripping humanity from those around them, they stripped it from themselves. Over time, reputations shift, whispers spread. The Polish image erodes. They are perceived as unsettling, unsafe, or exploitative. Social standing declines. Meaningful circles close their doors. What remains are shallow, transactional bonds. When music resources diminish, so does tolerance. Physical deterioration becomes an existential reckoning. For a narcissist whose identity is anchored in appearance, illness, or aging feels catastrophic. There is no inner reservoir to retreat into, no warm archive of authentic connection. Caregivers and doctors become targets of displaced rage because they witness vulnerability. Frailty feels like humiliation. Later years may be marked by isolation. Nights spent alone with screens or distractions replace real closeness. The stimulation that once seemed thrilling now feels hollow. They may begin to sense, too late, that sensation is not the same as belonging. They accumulated experiences but forfeited intimacy. When they see you thriving, the contrast wounds them. Your peace becomes evidence of what they squandered. They may monitor from a distance, trapped in fixation, while you move forward. Their bitterness corrodes what little calm they have left. If children are involved, the truth eventually surfaces. As awareness grows, distance often follows. The legacy left behind is not warmth, but emotional residue. In the end, what surrounds them is not deep mourning, but complicated relief. Through it all, you stand separate from that collapse. You chose integrity. You chose self-respect. You chose to remain human. The attention and drama they created often felt exaggerated or performative. Their story was one that music others may not want to revisit, and eventually their presence fades from memory. The constant effort to maintain a false image and seek validation lulls both mentally and physically. Stress, tension, and the effort to always appear a certain way can set health over time. While you move forward with calm and stability, they may feel the consequences of their choices more acutely. Over time, life naturally enforces limits. What once brought excitement or satisfaction may lose its appeal. They may feel emotionally and socially depleted. Having music prioritize their own desires over meaningful connection, their earlier actions that seemed bold or adventurous may appear empty in hindsight. Imagine a quiet moment of reflection later in life. Someone alone facing themselves and realizing that their efforts to impress or manipulate music left them disconnected from others. What once seemed significant now feels hollow. So, Everett, the empowering truth is this: you were never at fault. You were navigating someone else's behavior, not your own value. Their unusual demands reflected their struggles, not yours. You protected yourself. Your body, your boundaries, and your well-being remain yours to care for and honor. What felt uncomfortable before can now be recognized as a protective signal. Saying no was not a failure. It was a boundary that preserved your well-being. Stepping away from the relationship allowed you to caress yourself and your emotional health. The space you create for yourself is for authentic connection and for honoring your own needs. You are not damaged goods. You are refined by fire, stronger, clearer, freer. The hidden lesson is simple. Their obsession with distortion exposed their impotence. They could not connect, so substituted sensation for intimacy. They operate from emotional deficiency. You operate from emotional death. You are capable of union. They are limited to friction. Do not envy their stimulation. It is frantic thrashing. Your calm is depth. Reclaim your embodied sovereignty. Close your eyes and feel your skin. It is yours. Notice your breath. It belongs to you. They attempted to imprint their darkness onto your senses. That imprint dissolves now. Pleasure returns to its rightful place. Sacked, mutual, alive. You do not need to perform. You only need to exist. Authenticity is enough. Their legacy reduces to ash. Yours grows into a garden. By speaking openly about what happened, you dismantle their mystique for others. Truth dismantles secrecy. Every time you say that was wrong and I trusted myself, you weaken the myth of the predator. Your voice is illumination. Use it. Imagine stepping out of a cramped, shadowed theater. The unsettling performance has ended. You emerge into brilliant daylight. Fresh air fills your lungs. Behind you, the structure collapses into dust. You do not turn around. Ahead lies open horizon, possibility, life. They will search for your essence in every new encounter and never find it. You were the soul in the dynamic. They chose objects over present connection and are left surrounded by objects. You chose integrity, and music are left with yourself. That is justice enough. Affirm it. My body is sanctuary. My spirit cannot be corrupted. My no is sacred. I am not a reflection of someone else's emptiness. I am whole. I am safe. I am resto, red. They remain stranded in hunger. You move forward in love. There is nothing behind you worth revisiting. The machinery has broken. You are human, alive, luminous. The story no longer belongs to them. It belongs to you. Their deviance was their pieces. Your boundaries were your wings. Now rise.